Another assignment letter.
Not a sign.
That they were
I mean, they're Diana.
We need that, because then he needs to know how many times.
You know why it has over 250 every school.
Yeah, I'll draft that.
That's just why they're telling change that.
We are now.
We're very intimidated by
Yes,
everything.
yes, yes.
That will include the coronavirus. Includes but not limited to.
We will be starting in just a few minutes, waiting for the superintendent to come in. 1 minute.
¿Ya los pusiste en el next I need to get that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's
videos
called,
you can
the
also-
si no lo prestaban que we make copies. Estaba llorando. She couldn't figure something out. Because I saw all comparables in Excel and stuff. Y no estaba, she couldn't have the data. I went over to her.
I don't know more
Showing that, comparing it to the spreadsheets to see if there's anything like she sees, you know. Somebody that's not projecting and why.
Good afternoon. We call to order the regular board meeting of Gateway Community Charter Schools at 511 Arnold Avenue, McCollum, California. Roll call, directors Block, Anderson, Mandrick, Campbell, present, one board member absent, Mrs. Turner, and our superintendent. Okay, welcome everyone. It's so good to see you. Thank you for being here for our board meeting. We're looking forward to an exciting board meeting with a lot of good information. And so with that, board members, we do have an agenda addendum. Addendum number 1. And it has to do with,
It is a job description revision.
thank you.
It is the accounting coordinator revision, job description revision.
Okay, and it is in the consent agenda item. So I'll entertain a motion for the addendum.
It's not in consent, it's under, I believe it's under personnel.
Okay, addendum number 1, revised accounting coordinator's job description. description, but I will need it. So moved. Second is removed and second to approve the agenda addendum number 1 added to the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. And so with that, we will go back to the regular agenda. This public comments. Do we have any public comments?
There were no public comments.
No public comments. Okay. With that, we are now moving into the superintendent's update. You're on, Superintendent.
All right, so welcome to board members and to cabinet and everyone in the audience. Thank you for being here today. Superintendent's update. Just want to let you know that we have been completely immersed in the coronavirus for some time, now affectionately named COVID-19. It's undergoing its own morphing as we go
Yes, it
along.
is.
And cabinet team has been working nearly daily on these updates, but certainly weekly. And we have an entire study session for you tonight about that progress, so I won't go into the detail here, but do know it has been some of our main and most important work. I was able to take some time and be on the Community Outreach Academy radio, Aficia Radio. I mean, it's just not really COA radio. It is the Aficia radio station. It just so happens that Ivan was there, who's from COA, and Sergey was my translator. So it was an entire GCC experience, but it was, we were also awarded a recognition from Aficia Radio for our long-term excellence in working with our partners in the community. We want to be sure the board is aware that we have formally submitted our request for a material revision for the Sac City Unified School District Charter. You'll remember the material revision is necessary because we are substituting a site, and we are hoping to have that resolved in the near future. We have requested a March 19th public hearing on the matter and are waiting further direction from Sac City. I am coming to you directly from the third class of the 22nd, I believe, cohort of Crucial Conversations, where we had many crucial conversations today. But very excited to be once again working with an amazing group of 6 people from our organization, talking about the power of having crucial conversation skills in our roles. My days all run together, but I think it was earlier this week we met with the representative from Flippin Group, who came to do a site visit with HLA and also with, I think, COA Middle School. But met with us in between those 2 visits to discuss that we are under consideration to be a national showcase district for capturing kids' hearts. It's something that they have not yet ever awarded to someone, as we understood it, and we would be one of the first or a part of the first ones being considered, so it was quite an interesting conversation. We were helping them define what that would look like as we were talking with them. So Ms. Lilly and I were excited and honored to be a part of the Futures WASP visit earlier, and were able to give our input into that work and to see the great work that Future staff is doing, and we're excited to find out about their outcomes when we're able to do that. The other thing that I was able to do is to be on the site of Sala Sim Center and visit the fashion design class, which is doing great work. It was incredibly exciting to see our young women. They were in the process of having already represented their drawing of what they wanted to create, and then created a pattern for what they were going to create, and they were starting to cut things out while we were there. And they were quite elaborate designs, so really nicely done by Sala Fashion Design. We also, since we've last been together, have had our GCC Foundation Crafty, and we had over 150 people in attendance and raised somewhere near $16,000. Later we will come back with the final number because that doesn't take into account expenses, but we didn't have a great deal of overhead, so we're believing that we will have a very healthy amount in the foundation. We've also had numerous meetings internally and with our consultants from Hanover Research that you approved last time we were together, and we've begun some discussions around what the work will be in the coming year around the topic of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Very excited about how we're defining the first steps of that work, and we'll keep you in the loop as we move forward with that. We also had our GCC teacher leaders team met, and this is the second cohort, and they are in the middle of implementing their passion projects, which we are hoping to bring some of those to you so that you can see some of the great things our GCC teacher leaders are doing. We also had a meeting with the CEOs of the El Dorado County SELFA over some disconcerting news that due to the folding of all the A3 charters, there is a significant loss to the El Dorado County SELFA that they're working to see if they can mitigate. But very interesting news. And then very excited, Dr. Lyle Kurtman has been on site working the last few days with our leaders and their teams and working on our expressed competency of continuous learning, and really excited to see the growth in our principals and their sites. And other than that, we continue to do our ongoing work, meeting and currently working on some policy reviews and revisions we expect to bring to you at the next meeting. But really want to affirm everyone in the GCC who, despite the chaos in the world around us, has kept their nose down and done the work.
Yes.
Been doing the work for our kids, so I want to affirm everyone. So that's my report.
Thank you. Any comments, any questions? Thank you so much again for your hard work. It seems as if I'm repeating myself every time, saying how much we know you do and how much we appreciate all you do. So thank you. And so with that, we will now move into our study section. 5-1, Capturing Kids' Hearts, National Showcase School Nominee Update. So who's on with that one?
Cheat sheet. All right. Good afternoon, board president, members of the board, Dr. Peterson. So I have the great distinct honor tonight just to bring to you our principals and some of our school staff for our CKH National Showcase nominees. As you know, Capturing Kids' Hearts is one of our, I don't even want to call it an initiative, it's just who we are. It's what we do. And so this year we're really excited and proud that all of our schools were nominated. And part of the nomination process is they usually submit a video or they submit things that show what they're doing in terms of capturing kids' hearts. And so tonight what you're going to see is some of our school sites will let you know some of their strategies. Others will share with you videos, others will share with you pictures. But we're really proud of all of our schools and the work that they're doing. Obviously, all of their great work is also what's leading to us being considered a national showcase district. So with that being said, we did a random pick, and so our first school that you will see tonight will be Futures, followed by CCCS.
I thought I was first. I'm co-located to further here. Let me sit back down. So
Futures, and then CCCS.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Dr. Peterson, Debbie Campbell, board members, everybody. It's great to be here. First of all, I would like to thank Debbie Campbell and Dr. Peterson for helping with WASP attending Sunday meeting. So devoting their Sunday, going through huge traffic and just being present and being helpful and showing a lot of support for the WASP process. So it was very positive. We got a very positive feedback about the teachers and especially about the students. They said the students were very friendly, very nice to them, very respectful. So they couldn't believe that for 3 days, any student they would stop by, they shake hands, they talk to them, they ask how they are, they provide help, support, so they were very impressed. And I would like to contribute that to the CTH process that we've been using for years. And last year, we were nominated as a showcase school, and we tried and we worked hard on it, and we still didn't reach that level of consistency. And somewhat, I was happy, because once you reach that recognition, you can, exhale and be a little bit more complacent. That's just basic human psychology. So we were not complacent this year, and we actually had a nice goal that we're going to reach that nomination, become a showcase school, and that is important for us. So our visit is scheduled for next week, because initially they asked for beginning of March, and that coincided with our WASP visit, and having 2 visits would be a little bit too much. So they were very gracious, and they postponed it for next week. So we'll see how that's going to go. They didn't ask for a video from us. They asked for a survey. They surveyed a lot of students from each grade level, so we surveyed about 70 students and all the teachers. And when the WASP visit comes, they're going to walk around, and they're going to talk to different students. They're going to talk to our process champions. Those are the teachers who were trained to be leaders in capturing kids' hearts. So the strategies that we use this year are, we added to what we've been doing this year, and some strategies are more effective, and some are still in the works, and some are short-term, and some are very long-term strategies that we will see the fruits somewhere later. So we started doing Mondays and Fridays CKH emails. So, and they come from the teachers, not just from at first I thought that I will start it, I will do it every Monday and Friday. Then I thought that it shouldn't be just for me, it should be for all the teachers. So the teachers volunteered, so every Monday they share some good things. So it's a traditional format. We start with good things. What happened last week in the school, in the professional, the personal life? What happened good, so we can celebrate and start a week from celebration. And setting a goal for a week. Sharing some effective strategies for the teachers. So how are you going to do good things this week? How are you going to do launches this week? How are you going to talk to the kids this week? So what is your personal goal? How are you going to build that relationship with the students this week? And then on Friday, we do the lunch, we share and say, hey, this is, again, good things, this is what happened, this is great, and here's our lunch for the weekend. And it's been going really well. The teachers really took it to heart. They shared their best strategies, because as CKH is not just one prescription. And this is a wonderful tool, this is a great tool. And as the program evolves in the school, it evolves, it changes, it adds to it, becomes more effective and efficient, we discovered that we can use a lot of creativity and innovation. So the teachers can be creative and do it different ways, and do it in a way that works for the students. So it's been a really wonderful, wonderful experience this year. And I wish I could have told you already that these are the results, but we'll have them at the, I don't know what's the timeline, end of March. Usually we do it end of March. So hopefully.
Thank you.
All right, so we have Principal John Campbell, followed by Principal Joy DeCoy, and GIS.
All right. Do we have to do the video?
Yes.
All right. So instead of talking about CKH, I'm going to show a clip from a 5-minute video that we made last year, and we're going to show about less than a minute of it. Last year was our second year that we were selected as a showcase school, and part of the nomination process last year was they requested that we made a video. So our photography teacher just did an excellent job working with me and some staff, and so you'll see a part of that right now.
The school is based on the belief that all students can learn and achieve if the basic needs of students are being met. By facilitating access to district, social, community services and support, CCCS works with students and families to ensure that support systems are in place to meet the unique needs of at-risk youth.
Hi, I'm Philip Novak. This is my wife, Yudia Novak. And we have 5 children with CCCS. We feel welcome, and our belief that our children are successful in their education is due to the warm environment from the entire school staff. Very first thing in the morning, we'll walk in, we have a handshake with the school staff, teachers, with the principal. It's easy.
Yeah, so I mean, it goes on, you got the gist of it there. But we were trying to both highlight our school and then highlight how we make CKH a part of what we do and engage students, and using the parent testimonial there. It's not just staff talking about it, but some of our, I guess, consumers you would call them. For me, as part of the way that we've tried to emphasize CKH this year, I was lucky enough, I'm not sure how it happened, where I got a request to do a phone call with Flip Flippin from CKH. And one of the questions he asked me is, how do we do it? How do we make it stay alive at our school? And my response was that really it's brought to us as something that we do with students, but to me it's extremely important that we model it as a staff. So if the kids don't see us doing it, don't see our staff social contract, or see us shaking hands or engaging one another in that way, then they're definitely not going to do it. So to me, it's the way that we do it as a staff. I mean, it happens at the GCC level too. You guys are aware of that. I mean, that's the way that we've been able to make it happen, keep it alive, and it's been helpful for my school to be nominated for 3 years in a row. Hopefully selected for 3 years in a row. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. McCoy, followed by Dr. Jerry Koshanev.
Good afternoon, GCC Board, Dr. Peterson, and GCC Cabinet. It's my pleasure to share with you our CKH journey and put it in presentation. So, GIS has been a national showcase school for 3 years already, and we are now in our 4th year of being nominated, hoping, as Natalia, that we will again be a national showcase school this year. And so we did do a video 4 years ago. It's not great quality, so I did a PowerPoint for you today instead. And so just to quickly go through some of the things that we do every day to keep CKH alive at our school. First, we engage people. You can see this is Mr. Pierre greeting his students every day. Obviously, because of coronavirus, we're not really shaking hands. We're doing, elbow touches, maybe toe touches, or a fist bumps. But we greet them. It's not just about shaking hands. It's about speaking to them, making eye contact with them, and interacting with your children every day. This is what tells students that you care about them. You make a personal connection with them. And it's not just about students, it's in the front office as well. When you walk into the front office, you should feel a connection with the people who are in the office. You should be welcome. We also had a visit this year from some professors from UC Davis. And when they visited our schools, I was surprised that the one thing he commented on was, wow, your kids actually approach adults and talk to them. They know how to approach adults and talk to them competently. And this is our mostly middle school students that they interacted with. So we engage, not just our students, but the adults at our school. And then we explore them. Of course, we start every class with good things. We start every staff meeting with good things. And what good things requires you to do is not just share something good, you need to listen to the person who's sharing something good, right? Because that interaction is reciprocal. And then you need to be able, after listening, to ask follow-up questions and actually show that you care about what the person is talking about, right? This reflects that you care about others. This is one of my favorite pictures because this teacher came up with this bulletin board that says, I belong at GIS. ID is play on words. Next, we communicate. This is obviously a big part of what we do at GIS. We communicate, we teach, we communicate through play. And something that CKH uses is 4 questions. What are you doing? What are you supposed to be doing? Are you doing it? What are you going to do about it? And it requires the students to actually think and reflect on their behavior and their actions. And then we display student work. We display their achievements. We announced this year something we're doing over the intercom, affirmations over the intercom, not just for students, but for teachers and staff as well. And we empower our students, right? So we do the whole cycle of inquiry process with our students. They inquire, they ask questions. Their questions mean something, they're meaningful. They use those questions to plan, present their learning, and reflect. This year last year we implemented student-led conferences. And that's a picture from the Maker Fair where the students plan their own projects. And we launch our students in little ways and big ways at GIS. And we honor them with end of year celebrations. We launch them every day. One of my favorite ways to launch people of the intercom or in assemblies is my saying, every day is a great day to be a Grizzly. It's also a hashtag that we use at GIS. But as part of this year's application to be a CKH Showcase School, we were required to submit a letter or story from staff members instead of another video. And so one of my teachers submitted this letter, and I think she says it better than me. When she first started teaching, she struggled with classroom management, ended up yelling at students more often than not, and got out of teaching because she was so disappointed. And when she got back into teaching, she came to GIS. And so this, I'm going to read part of her letter now. This school, I discovered, lives CKH. She was greeted with handshakes and smiling faces. At the first staff meeting, we shared good things and created our own staff social contract. There was something unique about this school, and the overall positive, welcoming vibe is what struck me the most. My grade level was supportive and helpful. When I struggled, staff members jumped to help me. I had never experienced anything like it. As my little third graders entered my classroom for the first time, I found that the timeout signal worked like a charm. The social contract was created by the end of our first week, and I discovered that when I referred to it, the children actually understood it and honored it. We even agreed to add things as the year progressed. The 4 questions were effective for keeping me calm, even if I had very defiant students. Through CKH, I learned to become a teacher who rarely raised her voice, had students who showed respect for both myself and one another, and learned to follow through with my words. I learned to communicate and guide rather than yell and tell. CKH changed my life in a immediate better position. That's what CKH is at
Mr. Coy. So next we have Dr. Kosh, followed by Mr. Kunin from Higher Learning Academy. Dr. Kosh.
Thank you. I don't do this, and I'm doing it all orally.
Board President Campbell, members of the board,
Cabinet, guests, it's my pleasure to share some of the great work that EPIC has done in capturing kids' hearts. Last year was the first year EPIC was nominated and recognized as a showcase school, and I want to start off by affirming Ms. Ash and Ms. Marston for the great work that they did in laying the foundation of capturing kids' hearts at EPIC. We had an outstanding visit. I got there just in time when they came for the visit, and we had a great visit. They loved coming to EPIC. They saw all of the affirmations, the good things, the launches, the 4 questions, all of the things that Mr. Coy mentioned. And we had excellent student, staff, and parent surveys, which are a part of the nomination process. So that was last year. This year is our second year as a nominee. And we had excellent surveys again in all of our areas of school culture. And for second year showcase schools, it's similar to what Mr. Coy at GIS did, is I had to submit I had the pleasure of submitting a biography or a success story of somebody at EPIC where capturing kids' hearts is affected. And I chose our first year PE teacher, Mr. Panikvar, and shared like some of the successes that he was doing as far as how I was helping him build his classroom management, building relational capacity with students, and a little bit about how he has unique and innovative ways of implementing the social contracts in PE because he's in multiple learning spaces. So it turned out really well. I submitted that today, and we'll see what happens. I'm expecting that we will be awarded again this year. Some of the great things that we're doing is process champion work. We talk about teacher leaders here and creating them. Our process champions are teacher leaders, and it's not top down with administration and staff telling them what they need to be doing. They are meeting on their own. They're implementing staff recognition, get-togethers that build relational capacity, doing all the great things. They're mentoring and coaching our new teachers and capturing kids' hearts. So what I'm really proud of is that it's teacher-driven and it's not coming from the top. And I can sit back and we meet and they come up with all the great ideas and they're doing it themselves, which I'm very proud of. The meetings, we kind of follow in the line of what the GCC central office does, is that all our staff meetings are framed by the Excel model and start with good things and reviewing the social contract, going through the meeting, communicating and launching at the end. And consistent implementation, I feel has really benefited our staff meeting process, and I'm really proud of that. And then a final thing, as Ms. DeCoy mentioned, the 4 questions have become part of our universal classroom management system. And it matches up with IB because one of the learner profile traits is being reflective. So whether it's on paper or whether it's orally, when students are having classroom issues or behavior, they reflect on the 4 questions. And it's very universal at EPIC, which is something that I know the leadership at EPIC has worked very hard to implement. So that's CKH at EPIC, and we're going to keep rolling. And it really is a key factor in why the culture at EPIC is so great. So thank you very much.
Now we have Mr. Coonan for HLA, followed by Mr. Serby for COA Elementary.
Hi, good evening. I'm very excited and proud to speak to our progress with CKH at HLA. As you may remember, we have grown quite a bit. Our enrollment has doubled in the last couple of years. That means a lot of new staff members. So something we're proud of is just getting all of our staff members trained. We've hired 20 new people between either over the summer or throughout this year with our growth. So getting all of those staff members trained is something that we've done and are very proud of. We couldn't do that for most staff in August, and so we had to kind of impromptu give our staff a shortened version of the training, give them some absolute must-dos right off the bat. Here's kind of what the social contract looks like, that kind of thing, just so they could be a part of the culture without receiving the full training, which most of them got in January. And then we just made a really conscious effort to live by the Excel model. So like I think Mr. Kosh mentioned, we've built all of our meeting agendas around the Excel model to make sure we're hitting good things, make sure we're checking in with our social contract, make sure we're always launching. Another thing we've done is taken pictures of all of the classroom social contracts, printed them in small index card sizes, laminated them, put them on a key ring, so all of our outside staff can flip through social contracts of classrooms, and so make connections for students about how their social contract really should be lived by, even when they're outside on the blacktop, on the playground, that sort of thing. I have to affirm our CKH process champions, Shayla Thomas, Capri Kaur, Maria De La Mora, and Brandon Bagazi. They have been huge leaders for us this year in CKH. We regularly set aside just 15 or 20 minutes of our staff meetings for them and let them completely drive that work. They got a lot of input from staff on what staff needed in order to improve in CKH. And so every couple of weeks they come to a staff meeting with fresh ideas, role-playing scenarios, things like that, just little mini PDs for our staff to keep CKH alive and kind of troubleshoot some of those tough parts. We got a great affirmation from Jeff Thorpe. He came to our school a couple times this year to do CKH recharge trainings. When he came in January, he really affirmed us and said that the difference just from the beginning of the year until January was a huge difference, but even looking a year back was just monumental difference. So he really encouraged us that we were ready for that CKH nomination. And so that brings us to our showcase visit not too long ago, just a week or two ago. Got a lot of really positive feedback. The process was similar to what other principals have mentioned. She met with our process champions. She met with our entire teaching staff at one time. She met with our students and got a student-led tour around campus. On her way out, she said if I had a student, I would send them to the school. So though we have no official word yet, we felt like that was extremely positive, and we were proud just to get that feedback. So that's our progress. Thank you for your time.
We have Mr. Surdy, followed by Principal Scott Denard.
Thank you. Good evening, GCC Board, Dr. Steve Peterson, GCC Cabinet. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I'm really excited about it. Unfortunately, Mrs. Gonchar doesn't feel good. Therefore, I'll be the only presenter on behalf of COA Elementary School. So I've put together a few slides for you, as well as a few notes to present for your review. We can start. Community Outreach Academy embraces capturing kids' hearts in all aspects of campus life. At any given moment, you may hear students affirming each other, a social contract being reviewed and evaluated, good things being shared and celebrated, or meaningful lunches being delivered. You may see a staff agenda, meeting agenda that follows the Excel model, students and staff being greeted with smiles and handshakes, passed by a staff affirmation board, or catch a glimpse of quite possibly the world's largest social contract. In the middle of our beautiful facility that roughly 1,300 students and staff members have signed. We're a school dedicated to building, embracing, and expanding our knowledge and use of CKH. In July of 2019, many members of our leadership and grade level team took time out of their summer breaks to participate in CKH2 training. This experience challenged us to build stronger relationships within our teams by understanding and owning our strengths as well as challenges. We were inspired to tweak our behaviors to improve ourselves and our relationships. The training helped our staff evaluate everyone's differences and deepen our relational capacity. All COA teachers utilize CKH to foster relational capacity with their students. Our teachers wholeheartedly embrace the use of CKH in their classrooms. They're committed to empowering students to feel valued and teach them how to be a positive part of the classroom and school's community. Students at COA feel appreciated, heard, and cared for. COA is CKH. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have COA Middle School, Principal Gennard, followed by Sava with Director Maury Elliott, Principal Ashley Madden, and Principal Summer Ash. But I hear Summer Ash is gonna present.
Hold on. Sorry, I'm calling in audible and changing things up. Yeah. All caps.
While you're doing that, I would say two small comments. So that huge social contract, Flip Flippin himself forwarded that in a tweet when you first went out. So he was quite impressed with your huge social contract at COA Elementary. So
You can hit present there. Why don't you do the top right there? I wanted to share this because we had our 5th grade visit, our future 6th grade visit today. And this is something we shared with the students and something we talk about a lot with our students and community. I thought it would be fun to share with you guys. And it kind of talks about, I did add one slide today, but for you guys, but it talks about our CKH and PBIS journey and how we've really married those two concepts with us. We do have the video that we submitted. If you want to hit play on that, Blythe, we'll just show a short portion of this.
you know, the first 14 minutes, just have to.
You can stop. That's really what I wanted to show you. But really, it's one of those things. It's a 3-minute long video. But one of the things that we really have committed to, and it's what we submitted to CKH, is kind of our highlighting our progress and our focus, is this marrying of CKH with our entire identity and focus of what we are as a school. And so we've completely integrated that within our positive behavior intervention systems. And we've identified that we have a 3-tier discipline model at our school tied with our PBIS. Tier 1, which is that foundational element for all students, is absolutely capturing kids' hearts for our kids. And we talk about that through really building character. We had Jeff Thorpe come out to our site this year. This is the second year we've been nominated as CKH National Showcase School. We didn't get it last year. We're hoping to get it this year. But he came to do a refresh this year. And one of the things he really talked about was building students who are self-managed. And that really tied and spoke to us with our work that we've been focused on the past couple of years around citizenship, student ownership, autonomy, and development. And so we really kind of honed in on these characteristics that our students have. We've married our PBIS model along with our Capturing Kids' Heart National Showcase focus that we're very proud of. And we've done that. We've done clear communication. We've kind of engaged in fun ways that is very focused to kind of talk about the expectations. We've taken the concepts of our social contracts, and we've kind of focused along every single aspect of our school, where we kind of identify how students can kind of engage within every aspect of our school. Not only that, but we've also created an entire acknowledgement system for our students that is tied with those character traits that we've really focused on, which is great. There's an entire reward system. We have a whole shop that they do. And we've really married this even with our technology, how students engage with technology and digital citizenship, how we engage with cell phones and everything else. And so what's happened is we've really kind of developed a core culture where capturing kids' hearts is absolutely foundational to us. And it's connected with our positive behavior intervention system to really create a cohesive system that works incredibly well. With the board's support, we've made an incredible investment in that process this year. The concept of capturing kids' heart and PBIS marries so incredibly smoothly. And that was an ongoing conversation we've had throughout the year with Jeff Thorpe, Capturing Kids' Heart people, along with, we found some other charter schools that we've partnered with that also engage heavily, other National Showcase schools that also engage with PBIS and that concept. Our Process Champion team is our PBIS team, so they've engaged in deeper training and commitment. We had a visit last Thursday, 1 week ago, and it was just a wonderful time to just kind of celebrate and talk about our kids. They took me for a tour. We talked about all the amazing stuff we're doing with at our school. It was a fantastic visit. I don't know what the results are going to be, but we got very positive feedback. Like Danny said at HLA, we left with really good feelings about it. We'll see what the results are. But whether we get the nomination or not, the cultural change that has occurred at our school was really significant. And it's amazing. The way it's really tied into our culture. We look forward to really delving deeper into that pursuit of excellence as a school site. We've engaged with Capturing Kids' Heart 2 already as we integrate 6th grade staff with our 7th and 8th grade staff to start next year, so that we can really start that process off on an incredibly positive foot. So it's definitely become an absolute part of our culture and our identity, Capturing Kids' Heart. And these are just a few of the ways that we've been working on that this year. Thank you very much.
All right, we have Principal Summer Ash from please.
Hello, good evening, President Lily Campbell, board members, cabinet, and Dr. Susan. We're going to start off our presentation with a short clip of a video. We, as a SABA, have had our Capturing Kids Heart implementations for 10 years now. We started this journey 10 years ago, and that was, for me, my second year at SABA. And it has been a fun journey to see how we've taken Capturing Kids Hearts, and when Capturing Kids Hearts was presented to us, it was around a classroom-based model. So our journey has been, how have we taken that classroom-based model of implementing Capturing Kids Hearts and created it for our school, our setting, our students. And for 5 years that I was with SABA, that was our high piece of our journey. How do we infuse Capturing Kids Heart into our everyday, into our culture, into what we do with students all the time? And now I have had the opportunity to go to other schools and now return back to SABA and to just see, after another 5 years, how now that is what it is. We don't have to think about Capturing Kids Hearts. We don't have to continuously have this as a top priority. This is now just who we are. So it has been fun to see what that journey looks like. We have had 3 years of a national showcase school for SABA, and we have become one of those model schools where other staff and students come to our schools to see what Capturing Kids Hearts can look like in an alternative setting. We also have sent students, and we are sending students next month to Capturing Kids Heart training for principals and superintendents, where they're going to talk about what Capturing Kids Hearts means to them, how Capturing Kids Hearts has made them feel, and what their journey through Capturing Kids Hearts has been. So we also have been given those opportunities to have with our students to be presenters of Capturing Kids Hearts. And then lastly, just, it's been really fun also because Flip Flippin featured our staff and students in his latest book, Your Third Story. So we have also had opportunities to do and be seen more globally and nationally in terms of Capturing Kids Hearts. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
So
So just to close this out, I definitely want to affirm each of our principals and their staff, our vice principals who came tonight to present. Thank you so much. They're doing all the hard work, but I do want to share something that Nancy from the flipping group shared with Dr. Peterson and I when she met. She said this, she said, "It is obvious that CKH is who you are, and this is not a show. It's impressive to see this in action from the top all the way." And I think what she left from in that meeting is that this really is not a dog and pony show of what we do. It really is who we are. And I think that is what definitely impressed me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Comments?
I think it's outstanding, the growth and everything that's happening in the organization. I've been thinking about this quite a bit. You know, the entire organization has focused on CKH. I think as a board, we have an opportunity to perhaps go through that same process. And so maybe at our next retreat, we can consider looking at doing a CKH workshop.
Again, you mean, because we have had some training, so.
Well,
Just to,
yeah.
okay.
What we really have is a bit of an overview
Yeah.
training. It was quite small in piecework, but I think Jason and I actually spoke with Nancy about the possibility of maybe incorporating a half day that goes deeper, so we can, as a board, be more committed to the process and understand it more, and understand how we could apply it if the board is in agreement. We could work with Flippin Group to include that in our fall retreat.
Sounds good. I think because I have had the opportunity to hear and to be in the presence of some workshops and what have you from some of the people at CKH, you know, to me now it's just a part of what we do again. And one of the things I thought about, are we getting burned out? And from everything that I have heard, the answer is no, absolutely not. And it was so good to hear that you are really bought into, you're really still into it, and you're growing with it each year, and that you really appreciate the program, and that's really great to hear. Like I said, I have been around it probably a little bit more than most board members at conferences and whatever. So it's great to hear that you are still really involved with it with your students. So thank you so much for the presentation. Anything else?
Just to just again affirm all the principles, and thank you for taking the time, and for not just taking the time tonight, but taking the time.
Okay. You do what you do, taking the time to do what you do, working with the students and the staff. It's evident when you go into the schools. I was at COA Middle, and you know, when you walk on the campus, students are there. Hello, how are you? Welcome. I mean, the presence is there, and you know that something good is happening. So I understand what you're saying. The feeling is there, the presence is there, and you just feel good when you walk on the campus.
I have to say one more thing.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't get any of this life skill training when I was going to school. And I think we are like heads up over a lot of other educational organizations that do this. Because we're really, really not just passionate, it's not just part of our culture, it's we're creating these students, what they're launching into life. They've got a leg up on a lot of others because we're doing this. So congratulations, Dawn.
Someone said it's who we are. It's who Gateway Community Charter School is all about. That's who we are. So it's great to go to conferences and talk with people about it, because I do talk a lot, obviously. So thank you again for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. If you need to leave, but if you want to stay, we sure appreciate it.
I would suggest you not leave until after the coronavirus update.
Which is now. It is right now, 5/2 coronavirus update, plan update.
Okay, so good evening again. I actually was really enjoying the last presentation a lot more, but we do want to take some time to update you on the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, and our plan. So about 3 weeks ago, and I do think it's very important to say that we really have been talking about this issue for quite some time, as we've just been watching what's happening in the news and everything. And we have a team that is consistent of all the team members up there, which is our cabinet team, and various ones of us will be kind of sharing different parts of this with you tonight, just to update you what's happening. So,
Get the satellite now.
no, we're on. So the first thing that I want to make sure that we're all aware of is that we are in what's really called clear and constant, now I'm going too fast, clear and constant communication. If we go back one. Clear and constant communication with these two entities very heavily. One is the California Department of Public Health, where we receive daily updates in terms of what is happening, what is known, and then also the Sacramento County Public Health and the Sacramento County Office of Education. Some combination of myself and Chris are involved in each of these groups where we're getting really to the moment, to the minute updates in terms of what's happening. You'll hear me say this a few times, and that is that this is a very fluid situation, which means what I tell you right now could be very different 3 minutes from now, but this is a snapshot of where we are in this moment. Our strategy has been to really look at prevention. One of the big areas of prevention is communications. We are providing continuous communication with our staff and our families via email. Even this weekend, as far as text, our website, we have the information as soon as you go to gccharge.org. There's a pop-up that you have to read every day of here's what we know and here's what's happening with the coronavirus, as well as our social media. We're sharing the preventative actions that come from County Public Health, especially around the areas of washing hands, covering the cough, staying home if you're sick, and also sharing with people that they may need to get the flu shot if they have not already received. Each of our school sites have posters now that talks about proper ways for hand washing, etc. The second tier of prevention is really our work with both Sacramento and Yolo County Public Health Departments to, number one, learn updated information in our area, as well as to share the message that they give us. There is guidance that California Department of Public Health, Sacramento County Public Health, Yolo County Public Health, all have developed around schools, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And the fact that we really are providing those guidance not only to our sites, but we're following them as they come. The third area is facilities. So we've been working very closely, our team, with our facilities department. We have prioritized the cleaning of frequently touched spaces, hard surfaces, as well as needed, additional custodians to help provide the additional cleaning. Sites are monitoring their supplies of soap and other materials that really help to promote the healthy habits. So again, looking at the areas of talking to people, following the guidance that comes from public health, and working with our facilities. In terms of guidance to schools, Sacramento County Public Health has worked with SCOE, and even to the fact that once a week there is a conference call that is hosted by SCOE and all what they call PIO, Public Information Officers, where we're actually getting whatever the latest guidance to schools is. Some of you may be aware that one of our local school districts in the area announced this weekend that they would be shifting their spring break. We were on the very first call that SCOE put out that said, listen, this is our guidance. We are not recommending at this time that you do that. I want you to know that as soon as about 30 minutes before this board meeting, SCOE is still holding to the guidance of March the 7th, where they are not recommending school closures And if those are recommended or ordered, it will be a decision that is made jointly with the school district or the school and county public health. And they're very clear about that, again, because they want to make sure that the message is very unified to the public. So here's what we've been doing in terms of our planning. The GCC cabinet team is meeting weekly. I will tell you, sometimes, even though we have formal weekly scheduled meetings, we're really in daily electronic communications, personal communications, as situations change, because again, it's very fluid. We have a plan that we have developed. All of us have access to the plan. We're constantly adding to it, and we're addressing the concerns that are being raised by not only our families, but also our staff in a very timely manner so that they understand that we are on top of this. We also are working very closely to monitor and follow the guidance from CDE, SCOE, and both county public health. As you know, we're in Sacramento and Yolo, and we're reviewing the scenarios. So within the guidance, there's a number of scenarios that they kind of walk you through to let you know if this happens, these are the steps that you should take. In our area, Sacramento County Public Health is the lead agency in regards to the virus. In other words, they're the ones that are providing the information that we are following, and that has been stated even as much as in their state of emergency, that they are the governing body in terms of what's happening. And then, you know, it's understandable that this is an anxious time, and we are really working hard, and we really appreciate how our families and staff, they're all working together. Our principals, our custodians are all working very tirelessly to make sure that we keep our community safe. So as much as we have a team, which is our cabinet, they're also part of the team. So let's talk about the current situation, just to let you know. It is very fluid. I actually hadn't been using that term, but Dr. Peterson gave me that term. It's very fluid, which means it changes. But one thing that is solid as of this moment, unless something has happened up, and that is there are no known cases of COVID-19 among our student body and our staff here in the GCC. Sacramento County Public Health would, if there was, provide guidance in terms of what the protocols for community tests and how we should change or have our school activities would need to be made, or excuse me, what changes need to be made to our school activities. Once again, we're constantly reviewing guidance from public health regarding the mass gatherings, and it will provide clear guidance to our community. You may know the governor did give some of those things, which we are deeply talking about with our team and continue to keep our pulse on. So there it is. I want to let you know, as of today at 2:13 p.m., there are 17 confirmed cases in Sacramento County. Once again, there are no cases in the GCC, and there has only been one death within, again, Sacramento County. So Sacramento this week shifted from the quarantine to something that's called mitigation. And part of that came due to the really the big thing of moving from this pre-phase or preparedness phase to really minimal to moderate. And so we are now living in the middle world where we're implementing a number of these measures. And you may once again have heard the governor talk about these, but this is kind of the strategy of Sacramento County Public Health. And once again, Chris and her team are really staying on top of that, as well as the information that we're getting from SCOE. I won't spend much time, but County Public Health does share with us, these are the high-risk populations, elderly, those who are primarily over 60, people who have medical conditions, and those who have compromised immune systems. Once again, a lot of things in terms of why you don't like this? I really tried to move through that slide. Next slide, please. I tried to move through that slide quite fast. Next slide. But once again, we really are working to prevent the spread by employing a number of strategies, and then there's a number of best practices. So So I would like to now bring up Dr. McCormick, who's going to talk a little bit about our educational plan, and then after that, Mr. Gillespie, who's going to talk about really what we're doing in terms of our staff and our preparedness in that area.
Good afternoon. First of all, I need to affirm all the site principals who probably, if they now see my name next to an email that says, tell me more about, and could I have a response in the next 12 hours? So they have been very, very helpful in us being able to put together this educational plan and really talk about what would it look like if we had to go to an online or virtual environment. Clearly for our independent study schools, we're used to not seeing students in a seat-based environment. They have had some extensive planning meetings among their teams to really talk about what that would look like. So, but these are some suggestions as far as what we're looking at if we were to deploy a plan, what that would look like, about using some virtual platforms and some virtual conference setting. Google Hangouts Meet allows us to have an unlimited number of participants together, so that seems to be our sort of conferencing medium of choice. We are talking about using Google Classroom. Many of our schools, many of our students, many of our teachers are very used to using Google Classroom at this time, so it seems like a very good transition to continue using that current platform, but deliver our content in a different way. Okay? So we are looking at how do we then, for those that may not have that time with Google Classroom, giving them more site training. So we're going to roll out a training plan starting next week. We will actually do this via Google Hangout Meet with small groups, large groups, anybody who wants to jump on different times of the day to make sure that we're addressing any of this and using some of our current experts to support that. And then we are in the process of putting together the many, many resources that are out from a lot of groups that are putting together some great resources that we're going to put in a single source for them, and then being able to crowdsource those from our teachers who are out working in the field.
See, this slide is very well prepared. No, just to talk a little bit about the staff and HR perspective, we will be working under our current rules for leaves of absences, for if you have 3 days of absences, we need no permit. So we're currently operating under our normal protocols for any absences for employees. And again, we don't have any awareness of any employee who's absent because of COVID or anyone that is related to them. The other piece that we're looking at and we're discussing in cabinet is how do we manage this from an HR perspective if our schools close? Is it one school? Is it multiple schools? Will we have staff come in and work on site, or is it possible for them also to work remotely from home? And we will be working with the Department of Public Health, getting guidance from them if that does happen. So we do have hourly employees that are paid by the hour, and so we are in cabinet discussing what are our options for those employees, because in theory, if they don't come to work, they don't get paid, but we don't want that to happen either. So we're just looking at all of the different things that can be impacted from an HR perspective. We don't yet have all of the answers for that, but we are discussing this. We'll be discussing again tomorrow and taking actions as they respond. We'll be responding to things as they occur, because there are so many unknowns at this point. But just so we've had deep discussions around all these elements and what we need to consider. Even Aaron, from his operations perspective, is how do we pay people? We still have to access QSS systems. We've already, he's working with a working group that has reached out to the county to see how they will be processing payments, paychecks, those kinds of things. So everyone, I think, in our cabinet level is on the same page in terms of knowing what we need to know and then finding out what we need to find out. So we feel like we're in a pretty good spot considering the circumstances, and we are still hoping that none of our schools will have to shut down and we will not have. We're here to respond to any questions you might have.
So, Jason, are we going to kind of just get an update on each board meeting and kind of just where we at? Or any changes in
certified case per se, we would inform you of that, and what it meant, if we were taking the actions. We're gonna send you emails and update you on the spot. So, certainly, we're never gonna have you open this up without me and read a story. And then find out about what's going on, but yeah, you, it will probably continue to be a board item, yes.
I understand we're taking the case, just taking it.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, and we appreciate the information, and also that you are keeping us informed. First thing I do this morning is turn on my computer now, see if there's anything that I need to know. So thank you.
I'm just wondering if people in the audience need the sanitizers more than we do.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing.
I have some social distance, but.
And I was in trouble. Okay, thank you. Those have to be, thank you for being here and coming. All right, we are now into item 6, information review, 2020-21 GCC board meeting schedule.
So you're being provided with a schedule that pretty much mirrors this year's schedule, and staff has looked at it to ensure that the meetings are during vacation weeks, etc. Mr. Business has validated that it will work within his schedule as much as he can tell on reporting schedules. So we're asking that you review it, and if there are no concerns, we will adopt it at our next meeting.
Yeah, I looked at it last night, and like I say, it pretty much mirrors everything that we've already doing. Board members, do you have any questions, any concerns about the schedule at this point? Does it kind of line out with dates, based on holidays and what have you? So at this point, yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. All right, so if there are no comments, we're moving on to consent agenda items. 7.1, adoption of the minutes. 7.2, personnel consent agenda items. Purchases over $30,000. COAES surplus. 7.5, deputy superintendent job description. So, 8 is business, so that's a different item. So we will do the consent agenda items. We're not business coming in later. So I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda items. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Jack's not here tonight. He had some questions last time for information. Jack and the superintendent and I met on Monday last week. Week ago Monday, and provided information to Jack. He was satisfied with the information he got. He realized that we had a hard time getting the board together this week for people being here and there, and he was very comfortable, told me to make sure he projected to everyone that he was very comfortable with us going ahead with just the 4 of us this evening on things. He also had some very, very positive things to say about the GCC staff. He was very, very much, very happy with the cabinet level staff, principal staff, staff up and down the organization. So he wanted me to pass that along to you this evening. And with that, then I would move the consent agenda.
Move the consent agenda. I have a second. Second. Any other discussion?
I'm just glad that we had an opportunity to kind of go through it and answer all the questions. I think that's part of what we do, so.
Okay. Hearing no other, all in favor of approval of the consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.5, the voting sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? No opposition, the ayes move it. Okay. Now we're down to item 8, business. Second interim revised budget and financial report.
Mr. Board. Happy to present the second interim report. Presentation. Hopefully I can get that quicker to work. We have a battery issue.
You know, it's It says something about our budget if we can't afford batteries.
Direction.
Feel like we're not representing well right now.
You're just trying to go through it very slowly, right?
Yeah.
Well, we can start.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to do anything. So, the second interim report is one of our required financial reports. Charter schools and school districts all have to file one. It's due March 15th to the sponsoring LEA and our County Office of Education as well. And then they forward that on to CEE. The second interim report contains the current fiscal year's DOT budget, board group operating budget, which will be the first interim for us, and then actuals to January 31. And then tonight, what I'll be presenting in this presentation are proposed budget revisions for second interim. We also turn in some supplemental items to that report, like multi-year projections. We send those off to the districts, cash flow projections, with those reports. Okay. Our average daily attendance at P2, this is the largest driver of our revenues for all the schools. And so we are revising our P2 assumptions downward for the second interim based off what we observed when we received and when we prepared the P1 ADA reports that were sometime around winter break. So first interim, we estimated total 4,855.62 ADA. And unfortunately, that appears based off of what we saw P1 and based off kind of what we see in prior years, how P1 relates to P2, down 106.74 ADA, which is 47.48 in total. Some of the big movers, CCCS, as you can see, unfortunately enrollment is declining at that school, and it's down 57 ADA. Futures down a little bit, 16. Sava Twin Rivers, we had estimated, I think, a little high there. And we're still monitoring that one. That one's a little volatile because they do get a lot of students after P1. So, and it's a little bit new to us, being that they're now, in their own, since like the second year now where they're at Thomas on their own, and so the data may prove differently there. Hopefully it would be a little bit higher. And then Sava SUSD, we just kind of based off prior trends, we decided to decrease that down a little bit. HLA is doing very well, and up 19. So go to the next slide. So total revenues for general funds. So revenues are decreasing over $1.1 million, or 1.8% of the total revenue budget, because of the lower ADA, and some of it also just due to lower unpaid pupil percentage counts. So that kind of goes along a lot of it along with the lower ADA. As you see the changes there decreasing. So it's 65.9 million total revenues, well 66 million first interim, down to 64.8 million. Okay, next slide. Expenses are staying relatively flat, and from the first interim, just decreasing by $80,000 only. I'll kind of go into that in a little bit, why that is, and a lot of it has to do with we're increasing a lot of capital projects. So our expenses, certificated salaries, decreasing 197,000. Classified salaries are kind of offsetting that. They're increasing 166,000. Benefits, that area is increasing 241,000. That's mostly because of health benefits. We've seen we kind of cut that down in first interim, but then we want to kind of bring that and restore that back because we've seen a lot. So we had open enrollment in October, November.
We've seen a lot of people signing up and kind of increasing their benefits. Books and supplies, we've cut that back quite a bit, down 811,000, just to help all the other areas of the budget that are going up. And then services and other pretty much remain flat. And then capital outlay, you can see that's a big increase, $500 and almost $3,000 there. And we're increasing that for to allow for the budget for the CCCS playground, their K-8 school, improvements to the COA middle, and futures and HLA improvements. We've been doing a lot, still doing a lot of improvements to that new site, and some of that has to do with modulars, some of that has to do with some of the other improvements, and then putting turf at Epic and fencing so that they have a place to do some PE and athletics. So we have a decrease to fund balance. So we started off actually budgeting in first interim with a deficit because we're doing so many big capital projects this year. The modular expansion at Futures or at HLA being the biggest. And so we started off with a $4 million deficit, and because of the change in revenues and the changes in expenses, we are the decrease to fund balance will now be is now estimated at $5.8 million, and so that's a negative change of $1.8 million. The ending fund balance is still very strong. We saw very strong reserves despite this. So ending fund balance is estimated to be about $1,098,000 lower than at first interim. So we had $21.4 million fund balance we started off with, and now we're just down to $20.3 million. That's still very well above the required amounts. Building fund, really nothing to report here, just that there's no changes in the building funds. This is for the modernization project at GIS. So, and I'm sorry, this is with the exception of next year, that should be stricken out, but LCFF is expected to pretty much have meager increases for the foreseeable future. So what we've seen in the past is pretty much almost the past 7 years or so, 6-7 years, LCFF, we had huge increases to LCFF every year to meet the target rate. Now we've reached the target rate. And so now we're just getting the cost of living adjustment only every year, which is really just over 2%. And they're not, these increases are not keeping up with the increases in expenses. When you take salaries, moving up the salary schedule, STRS, PERS, those increases are far beyond the cost of living adjustment. Even California's consumer price index is higher than what we are getting on the cost of living adjustment. And so this is reducing our ability to provide salary increases. If we can't really increase our staffing when you have a school that's just not growing in enrollment, or even if it has slightly growing enrollment, we don't have the money now to increase staffing. And it reduces the ability to pay for increases in costs for supplies and services, additional things that we want. And eventually this could mean cuts to the budget. We also, one of the risks too is enrollment decline. So the pain is far greater when we have an enrollment decline, and it's definitely much harder to make the cuts in alignment with the number of students. I mean, if you have a class full of students, the revenue goes down, maybe a little over $200,000. But if you take teacher related to that student, the teacher is, with benefits, it's far beneath 200,000. So where do you go to make those further cuts to balance it? So that's kind of, that is an issue. And then with what's happened in the news recently over the last few weeks with the coronavirus, and we also have seen low oil prices. The price of oil is falling greatly. There's a kind of a war on production, keeping production up on oil. That is creating a problem also in addition to coronavirus in the economy. And so the recession may be here now. And so this is all changing very rapidly over the last few weeks. And so there's some risks to consider as we go forward. Okay, sad as it is.
Questions?
I just wanted to ask you about the supplies, books and supplies. That's a pretty significant decrease.
Yeah.
Where is it primarily? Is it just the budgets themselves are a little bit elevated, or?
Yeah, they were. I mean, a big part of this is SAVA SUSD. Now that's one budget that's really going very well, actually. And SAVA has a requirement to spend, to get full funding in the next year. They have to spend 80% of their budget on instructional materials and supplies. And it was very well padded up to meet that in the first interim. So we were able to kind of cut that back down pretty easily. And I think that also wherever we, first interim, I think we increased a lot of the budgets in the schools. And where we thought we would have extra funding, we put it in books and supplies. We kind of plugged it in there until we could figure out where it should go. And so that was the first place to kind of take it back out. And so it's mostly, it's a good chunk in SAVA, and then probably after that equally distributed across the schools.
Yes.
You know, looking at what people are having to do to mitigate the outbreak, I don't see any way we avoid a recession. I mean, I think it's going to be inevitable, you know, unless some miraculous turnaround. But as soon as you start cutting businesses and cutting travel and cutting those types of things, we're going to be in a recession if we're not already in a recession. But as I've said this before, we have, looking at the reserves that we do have, we are better than 90% of the people out there, school districts, being able to meet a recession. We have good reserves, we have strong controls, and I think we're in a very good position to meet hopefully a short-term recession.
But, and I just hope that our staff, our principals, when they are looking at their budget and school programs, recognize that somewhere there's got to be some cuts and some things have to be changed. So I hope that message is going out very strongly to our leaders, that it's not as all pretty as it used to be, but there's some changes do have to take place.
In terms of the world we're in right now, before this all happened with the coronavirus and all of the business changes, we were already seeing all the districts around us, not the right word, but pink slipping, March 15ing, all the great numbers of teachers. They were making cuts because they gave away a lot in collective bargaining a year ago, and now they couldn't afford it without looking at a recession. What do you think that's going to look at? Do you think the rainy day fund is going to come into play and save everybody for next year?
Still have to be seen, and I think there's been a lot of pressure too on the governor's budget to take a lot of the one-time categorical and try to move those over into relief for the LCFF or STRS and PERS. And so we'll see. The good news is the state does have a very strong reserve overall that could probably help withstand a short-term recession. So, but yeah, it's
It's gonna be one of the most exciting, May revisions as full service I've
Yeah.
been to.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go. Because the world has changed, this is one of those times that between January and May has changed, the world has changed so much that it's gonna be a very interesting,
I'm gonna be watching that on video.
I'll be, from home, telecommuting into
Yes,
it,
right.
that's right.
I was gonna say, we're gonna start looking at our needs and not our wants. Because we want a lot of things that we don't need. And this is what we gotta start looking at today. The needs that we need, but we really need things and not just what we just want.
And I think that we always want to send the message, as we always have, that we want to, as much as possible, put the student first and what is most impactful for the student, but behind that, how can we, to the best of our ability, protect people's jobs and well-being and not harm people. So, I mean, we're always going to balance those two things, for sure.
Okay, I think we need to entertain a motion to accept the second interim revised budget and financial report. So move.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved in second. Any other discussion? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Voting sign of aye. Ayes. Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work again, and acclamations to you and your staff.
You want to affirm yourself?
Yeah, I appreciate, just trying to get ready for the next item, but I'd like to affirm Elmira for, she's been very helpful to this process, and I couldn't have done it without her because there's just so much going on. And
There's so much going on.
And
You're very
Where are
good.
you? There you are.
And
Thank you.
I will attest to the fact that every evening at 7 or 8 or 9, Miss Elmira has been at her desk hard at work, and definitely want to appreciate that she has had a whatever it takes attitude and done so with a smile on her face. So.
Well, we're glad you're here, and thank you again. All right. Okay, I think you have the next item on the personnel, the 2020-21 salary schedule, 12-1. Is that good? Okay.
yes, so the salary schedules that were attached to the board agenda, we're asking the board to approve this for the next year. So we have basically generally all the salary schedules include a 1.5% cost of living adjustment. And also there are some positions that are above 1.5% because they needed to be increased more to meet the minimum wage requirements.
Yes. Okay.
So that was in the agenda, athletic director, site-based, some site year one on internship credential on site-based teachers. And then a few different positions in classified, like human resources specialist, school office manager, and site administrator. We eliminated some unused positions, positions that have not been used for several years, and those were placed on the agenda as well. So we took those off the salary schedule, and then we made some other changes on some work days. So the after-school program supervisor, we've increased the number of days to 193 days. And then the student support specialist, we changed the title. And CTE mentor, we've made that to 185 days, 180, and the hourly teacher as well, up to 185 days.
The accounting coordinator line was
yeah.
also.
Yeah.
That's
So the
fine.
accounting
Yeah.
coordinator changed, we changed that to just meet kind of the marketplace, after doing some studies of other salaries in different areas. So, we put that on because we want to hire that position
Right.
to support the GCC as soon as possible. We put that as an 18-19 salary schedule change as well. And, I'm sorry, 19-20 and 2021. So that's also incorporated into this item.
Right, and I am trying to support you, but I just want to make sure with the job description revision, it is 5 more calendar days as well as what you just said about kind of adjusting for the market. And it's, so these 2 items, we're only talking about 12.1 now, but when we get to 12.2, they are kind of related because the 12.2 changes are included in the salary schedule, correct?
So at this point, are you finished? Any questions or comments, board members? Okay, well then we are going to take a vote on 12.1, the 2020-21 salary schedule, and we discussed that at the retreat. So I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved. Second, okay. It has been moved in second. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor of the 2020-21 salary schedule, the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition, so that passes. Thank you. Okay, and now 12.2, which was the addendum to revise accounting coordinator job description.
Yes, so
Yes.
we've just made some changes to the job description, just to update. It hadn't been updated several years, just for the current department needs at this time, and the increase in days from 225 to 230 days.
And just in support of this is what we have had tasked Mr. Business
Yes,
to do.
right.
So he and his director, O'Meara, had done this work, this is what they need, and this responds to what we've asked of him.
Any other comments to Ms. Thorne? No? Okay, I will entertain a motion then for the revised accounting coordinator job description. So moved. Second, it has been moved in second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so it moves. All right, and there we are. We're now down to board comments. Board comments. No comments? Comments, Mr. Block?
None.
Anything, sir?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am, no, sir. Well, I do have several things, and I guess it's on me. Don't forget, if you have not done your survey, please do it. We have 3 that have and 2 that have not. So you know who you are. We need to have those in right away. Make sure you finish your paperwork to leave here tonight that was given to you on the desk. Okay. All right, we have the GCC Board Director Self-Evaluation. So take one. We're going to bring it.
It's our hope that after you adjourn, you would quickly finish it and give it to Blake so that we can just take care of it, because in general, it doesn't find its way back when we send it home.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Wow.
If it is the board's pleasure, the board is always in charge of their own self-evaluation.
You gotta give some thought to that.
If you would like to give it some thought and bring it back to the next meeting, that means it will not be compiled until the following week, you know what I mean?
So would it be a discussion for the next board meeting or what?
If you complete it in enough time to give it to us to compile, it could be a discussion for the next meeting.
Okay, we'll complete it. I think we can take a few minutes to do that. I do want to take a few minutes to think, okay, Celia Middle School is gone. I went to the International Day of the Women, International Women's Day, and it was really, really, really very well done. Very nice. I don't see anyone here from GIS. The food was great. The games were fun. The students did the presentations to the mothers and grandmothers, and it was, I didn't understand a word, Sergey, but it was good.
I was not invited this year for some reason.
Oh, sorry. But it was very good. And I do personally want to thank a couple of people here, particularly Mr. Sergey, Mr. Jason, Ms. Larissa, who's not here, but please tell her. I had the wonderful experience of being recognized as the educational leader at the English-speaking Russian program at the Capitol a couple of weeks ago. And it was very well done. And I have to say that the comments that Senator Jim Nielsen made about the charter school program was just so heartwarming, to the point that I reached over and kissed him, and he kissed me back. I forgot I was in a public place. But what he said.
That was pre-coronavirus.
Yeah, that's okay. What he said, and particular Gateway, he said, what we're doing is what everyone should be doing, what the public schools should be doing, that we are providing for students who otherwise would not have the education. It was just right on point. It really was great. So thank you for being there. Thank you for recognizing me. It was something I will remember for a long time. The crab feed was great.
Mm-hmm.
It was wonderful. They ate a lot of crab. My folks did. I didn't eat it. Spent $40 on their cake. Yeah, but it was a good evening. On behalf of our children. It was a very good evening. And the women's leadership, my understanding that it is being postponed. I'm glad I hadn't got my flowers for you yet. I guess I'll have to bring them on the 23rd to you. But we know that it will be, hopefully, as soon as everything settles down. So I was planning on being there, but now that it's been canceled, postponed rather. So we still love you.
Thank you. I'm
Okay.
glad you still love me.
And
I do have upon the board's request that was asked for the new organization chart, just because I know that was a request last time.
yeah, and may I please, negligent in congratulating our new assistant superintendent. Thank you. And I'm assuming now that the board has approved, we now have a deputy superintendent. Yay! So congratulations, and we know that you're gonna work even harder.
Yes, he is.
Awesome. Yes, he is. So thank you, thank you. Anything else for the board for the next comments? Announcement of the next meeting, that's when?
There, March 24th.
March 24th. We're
March 24th is the date that I have, yes.
March 24th, okay. March 24th, next board meeting. Anything else for the good of the organization, for the good of the board? Any other comments? Anyone? Madam Superintendent?
Just
Anybody?
very proud of everything.
Cabinet? Anything else? Okay, I guess if not, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved, all in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much for staying, thank you for being here.
Save some paperwork. Yeah. So, in just what, is there not?
So they're just,